Greetings, Goddess Body, Mind, Spirit community. This is Tyra Omilade, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. And I wanted to come on today and record the second class. I went over the tree of life during one of my lives, so I'm going to have to pull out the part where I talked about the tree of life and just create a playlist. This is from the book, the Metu Neter. I've studied it for many, many years. It's the oracle that I use. And, one of my commitments is to do more with the gifts and talents that I have before I leave this old world. But it's also in service to the great mother. I'm a priestess of the sacred feminine mysteries, is in service to humanity, that I share what I know in hopes that it will support you along your way. So hopefully at some point you'll see that this connects to the video before it and after it, so that, or you could just go look for the playlist where this is housed to find the other videos. I don't want to repeat too much of what I talked about the last time. Essentially, what I did was I did an overview of the Tree of Life. Yes, in the Metu Neter. It's by Ra Un Nefer Amen. I don't know where mine is. But anywho, it is a book. And well, it actually there's several volumes of this book, but I'm focusing on the first volume. Um, and it's Egyptian, and he refers to it as Kemetic. And so it gave an overview of what I learned from the book about this tree of life. One thing about Ra Un Nefer Amen is he is from the USA. To me, he's very USA-esque because he draws from different systems, um, and they're all kind of included in the Metu Neter. And I think that's one of the things that I love about it so much, because I am not a black and white kind of person when it comes to spirituality. And I can see the connections. One culture has one language. And so there's one energy that they might describe using, a word from this particular culture versus this particular culture or whatever. And that's pretty much what Ra Un Nefer Amen does. It's like he's definitely focused on the ancient teachings out of Egypt, but he shows how they're connected to other traditions. And so, the tree of life is definitely from another tradition, but this one is called the Kemetic Tree of Life. I talked about Amen and what Amen symbolizes and stands for. So I will have to kind of mention a little bit about Amen again, because Oyser and Amen are intimately connected. So today I wanted to talk about Oyser. Essentially, what happens with this tree of life is it's kind of like, where are you working on this tree of life? And most of us are entering down, well, really down here, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're entering down here on the tree of life. Okay. When we are born as infants, as little children, you know, even as teenagers or whatever, we are hanging out down here. And then at some point, we really begin to hopefully step into this energy that has to do with Heru, which a lot of people know as Horus. Um, and then that begins to allow us to, it's like this awakening that can begin to happen, this expansion that can begin to happen. And you just kind of work your way up and down the tree of life. You're never fully away from it. Ultimately, the goal is to reach or Ser, because like I mentioned last week, you can see Amen is not even connected to the tree of life, because Amen is, the great divine consciousness, the infinite intelligence. Some people may call this energy God, some people may call it this energy goddess. but it is the supreme energy, intelligence, being that everything comes from. And ultimately, what we want to do is get to a point where we can get ourselves opened up enough so that we are experiencing Amen while still in the body. Okay. And that's the point of this whole tree of life. You're just working through the lessons. Say, for instance, Heru has a lesson or wisdom. Harakahuti has a lesson or wisdom. Same for Het Heru. They all have some wisdom that they can impart upon you, and it supports you in this journey that you're on and as a part of this human experience. They can help you navigate, all of the challenges that happen. They can help you to usher in all the wonderful things that can happen. And so, ultimately, what we're working towards, though, is this state of being called Hetep. A lot of times we've heard the word Hotep, and in the Metu Neter, it's Hetep, Hetep. And when we reach Hetep, it is an understanding and a connection to the great divine consciousness that you can experience. You don't have to be out of a physical body to do it. You're doing it right here in the physical body. And so that is the energy of Orser. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't connect and learn from this energy before we, are able to get to that level of awakening. Honestly, I don't even know if we will achieve it in one lifetime, right? It might take multiple lifetimes in order to get to this level of Hetep. A lot of times when we think of Hetep, oh, another thing too, let me just say this while it just hit my mind. This is the same energy as Osiris, okay? But a lot of times when we think about this energy, it's, people who are in a body and they are definitely awake in a way that other people are not. So, the great teachers, the great sages, this is the energy of Orser. And so I want to kind of talk about a little bit of the story with Orser, as well as just what is Orser's wisdom. So Orser, this is what I was taught in the Metu Neter. Orser was the ruler of um, of the land. Pause it. One more thing. This is the way Ra Un Nefer Amen calls it. Is it's the metaphorine, okay? Which means that it's a story. It didn't necessarily actually take place, but it is. We as humans think in pictures, sounds, feelings. So much of our life in NLP, we talk about how so much of our life is based on metaphor. Everything is a metaphor. All of the problems, all of the great things that happen to us, they actually represent a story that we are holding. And once we can begin to shift the metaphor and change it into something that brings the results that we want, then we'll stay where we are if we have a problem. Okay. So this is a metaphor essentially. And it is a metaphor for the things that we experience. And all of the characters represent some part of us. I want y'all to understand this whole tree of life is actually inside of you. All of these energies, they are actually inside of you. And part of the journey is to open them up. So the way this story goes is Osiris, was the ruler of the land. And he ruled in a way where there was balance and peace and harmony and happiness. And, people were spiritually evolved. In a way, when you think about it, it has to be something to it when we think about what we see in Egyptian, the pyramids and just that entire culture. It's like the ancient culture, especially It's pretty incredible. They were connected to something. So Oyser needed to go and um, to the outer regions of the kingdom to visit. And so he put his brother Set in charge of the kingdom while he was gone. And Set was a partier. Set was more kind of like, the good life, YOLO, right? And so you only live once. And so when Set took over, people became more attuned to satisfying, the human side of ourselves. They were not necessarily connected to the spiritually enlightened part of themselves. And so when Orsair came back and was like, "Okay, I'm ready to take back the reign," Set was like, "Not today." And Set killed his brother and cut his body into 14 pieces and distributed them around the world. Okay, so Oyser's body was what? Dismembered. So this is what happens to us in our consciousness, okay? We become dismembered. We begin to, it's like we're fractured. This is a part of what it means to be a part of the human experience. And as I get older, it is becoming more apparent to me that the more we can embrace that, then, you know, kind of from the Buddhist tradition, the less suffering we will have. Um, so just kind of embracing this is a part of what will happen to us. We will experience things that will fracture us. So what ended up happening was his wife and sister, I'm just telling y'all, this is how it is said, or Set, also known as Isis, along with her sister. She is the deity that has to do with devotion. She is a mother energy. She and her sister went out and searched the world. They traveled the world and found all 14 pieces of Orser's body. And what did they do? They remembered the body. Look at that. This feminine energy, remembering, putting the body back together, right? Except for one part, which was his phallus. And she used it to conceive a child. And who was the child? Heru, also known as Horus. So when Heru was born, well, also Orser was buried at the bottom of his body was put at the bottom of a body of water. I forgot exactly how to describe it, but his body was put down at the bottom of a body of water. And that symbolizes that part of ourselves that is connected always to higher wisdom. It in my mind, I'm putting y'all on pause for just a minute because I got to tell you this. In my mind, the most important thing you can do is connect with your higher self. That's one way we call it. I like using the word the Ori, which is from the Ifa tradition out of Nigeria. That is Orser. Orser is being connected with your Ori, your higher self. And it's deep, deep, deep inside of you. That's why we do our spiritual practices. This is why going within, taking that time to get quiet. And that's part of what Orser is the wisdom of Orser. You've got to get quiet and you go within and you connect to this deep, profound wisdom. And it's beneath the conscious mind. It is deep, deep, deep in the subconscious mind. Okay. So Haru grows up and then starts battling his uncle over the, being who's going to be in charge, defending his father, right? And what ended up happening is Set would win one time or Sarah would win the next time. And they just kept bouncing back and forth. between the two. Set would win, then Heru would win. Heru would win, then Set would win. It would became a stalemate. And so what ended up happening was Heru went into a court of law with Tahuti. So Heru and Set, they were using their willpower, their body, it's like all this masculine energy just fighting, fighting, fighting. But what actually helped Haru win, and he did win, was the law. It was following the divine law. It was going into a court of law and winning in that way. I don't remember all the details of what was said or anything like that, but that is how he ended up defeating Set. And that is what we need to understand. Set represents the part of ourselves, and we could even kind of look at it as an aspect of the world that is, you know, in a little bit of energy of forgetfulness and more steeped. This is how I always see it. It's like, s- how steeped into forgetfulness are you? It can make people act selfish and just do mean things and just, we think about carnal, like, I don't all the time like looking at it like that, but in the Christian tradition, we talk about the carnality. Um, the way it's described in the Metu Neter is like, are you living according to your lower self? The part that comes in with the little baby that's all focused on, the survival and really getting itself anchored into the body, which is not a judgment part, but it's like we can't stay there. We need to evolve and grow. Or are you operating from your higher self? Which part of yourself are you operating from? And we all have an internal set. And so that's the question that we want to ask ourselves. Where am I operating from right now? And maybe we see the world being more set like. There are going to be things in the world that represent the higher energies also, but a lot of times we just see people operating from their lower selves, right? Or the world in general. And so what helps us to navigate this? What helps us to continue to grow and receive abundance? Ma'at is this energy that has to do with balance. What brings us balance is divine law, living according to the laws of the universe. And this is why the spiritual practice is so, so important. So, or Sayer, and again, it's all about this sort of like you get close. It's like an ebb and a flow. It's like you get you you flow into Orsair and you ebb out. At some point, you'll flow in more than you ebb out. Okay. And as you do this, it's like you begin to understand, first and foremost, ultimately, what we're here to do is transcend all of the conditionings of our lives, especially starting from the moment we were born. Even in the womb, some of us are receiving messages, especially if they're very traumatic messages while in the womb. And ultimately, the goal is to get to Orsair, which Orsair is no longer operating according to conditionings. Orsair is leaning on the wisdom of Tahuti and in complete and utter trust in that wisdom. Or Ser is cool energy. It's like Obatala type of energy. Obatala is a deity out of the Ifa tradition in Nigeria. Coolness, cool head, full of wisdom. You're not going to see Obatala acting rash and hasty, right? It's like, I don't need to do anything until I have been told exactly what I need to do. And it's having this deep, deep faith and trust in the wisdom of the universe. Or Sarah also understands that we have to be connected to Sekert. I put a T on this one, but it can be Seker, but I put a T on it, Sekert. And I don't have an H in it, but I'm not knocking anybody for how they spell anything. Anywho, Sekert is the omnipotence. So Amen is the omnipresence. Tahuti is the omniscience. Sekert is the omnipotence. All right. And so Orser allows itself to wait for the power of the universe, or understands it has all this power within it. And there's certain spiritual practices that are taught within Metu Neter that are designed to help to open latent spiritual power. So between the omnipresence, the omniscience, and the omnipotence, this is how Orser works. This is what makes Orser Orser. Orser is truly, a state where it you're just really about being. It's this energy of beingness. Amen is beingness. Orser is beingness in a body. It's like the closest state you can get to that, being connected to the great divine without having to leave your body. Because when we leave the body, essentially the consciousness is going to go back into the oneness. Even though I subscribe to there's probably other things going on over there. Since we have ancestors, yeah, they might be a part of the oneness, but there's something to still having an understanding of you have ancestors left behind. And so, yeah. Um, so yes. So I'll tell you a little bit about what Orser is all about. One thing that I always tell people with Orser, whenever I do their readings, is it's all about being authentic. Orser is not operating according to conditionings, which is hard to be in a body and not operate according to conditionings. Okay, come on, y'all. We're gonna stay conditioned. You condition yourself to drive. That's a conditioning, right? But it's more of, are you being exactly who you came here to be, or are you not? That's what I'm talking about. Transcending all of, you should be this, all the labels, all of that. And just allowing yourself to show up and be authentically who you came here to be. Also, it's just so important with this energy to get quiet and to really listen. Whenever this energy speaks, to really listen to what is spirit telling you, what is Amen telling you is needed in your life. Another one with this energy is it's all about unity. Or Sarah is all about seeing how everything is connected. And it doesn't mean that everything is the same, but it means that things are complementary. And that's a lot of where dissension comes from. It comes from people, the ego, and it's like the black and the white, instead of understanding more than likely there's just a lot of complementary energy going on. So it is kind of important to embrace unity, the word unity, when working with this energy. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Last little bit that I'll share is with Orser. Orser only does what Orser is led to do. And so it's a little bit of a shape-shifting energy, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of a shape-shifting energy because Orser is like this clarified energy. And whatever Orser needs to show up and be, that's what Orser is going to do. So, Herakuti is the warrior. So if Orser needs to be a warrior, then he invokes his inner Herakuti and brings in that warrior energy, all the things that the warrior energy could do. Or maybe Orser wants to invoke Het Haru and be creative or tap into inner abundance, even though I do connect Orser to abundance. And so Orser knows how to turn on his inner Het Haru for when he needs that energy to be activated and using it. And then if he doesn't need Het Haru, then he Het Haru, the part of himself that's Het Haru, he just turns it off. Okay. He doesn't need it, right? And so he becomes a little bit of a shapeshifter. And the way I experience this is once you are clear about who you are, and that doesn't actually require you to be like in this state of perfection where you're just all healed up from everything, because I am most certainly not. But you can still experience. That's why I was like, it's not like a place that you achieve. You ebb into Orser, and you flow into it, Orser, and you ebb out. So in my flow into Orser, I find that I am just peace. Amen is all about peace. So Orser is this energy of Hetep, just being in this energy of, Hetep, peace. And it's like I won't make a move until I know what energy I'm showing up with. I don't feel like I have to. Well, this is just what Ra Un Nefer Amen said. Some people will say, "Oh, I'm a ot," and everywhere they show up, they're being ma'at, even when it's not appropriate to be a ma'at. They just gonna be ma'at. Or Sarah is like, no, I am ma'at only when I need to be ma'at. It definitely creates this energy where you're just kind of able to tap into whatever energy you need. And, that's just, and there's a peace about you. You don't make any move until you're clear. This is what I need. This is the part of myself I need to open up. And I love that because then you're not pigeonholing yourself. Well, I can't be this because I never have been that. Well, when we're doing this type of spiritual work, yes, you can. You can open up any of these power centers and you can bring it forth in your life. Astrology helps me to understand, for some people, Herakahuti is going to be easy to invoke. For other people, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But that doesn't mean that you can't activate your inner warrioress. Or if a man is listening, your inner warrior. Okay. So that's something else that I really love, that being in that energy of I'm just showing up being who I'm here to be in this moment, and I wait to see what what is this moment calling me to be, and then when I don't need that part of myself anymore, I can bring it back in. That's another way actually to have that balance. Um There are negative aspects to every card. So with Oser, if it's negative, more than likely you are not consulting your inner guidance. You're not feeling authentically who you are. It's a big struggle. Um, there may be no peace. You don't feel a lot of peace within. It's just connected to all of the trauma, the drama, all the conditioning. So I can only be this way or that way. Once you get freed from that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? I'm not going to try to change anybody, but I don't buy that. I really don't. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Absolutely you can. Um but when Orser is in the negative, you will struggle with showing up and being authentically who you are, shifting into being, rising to the occasion, however you need to. You may not be feeling fully connected to your Ori or your higher self. Um, and maybe you're gonna be down here. Something down here needs to be addressed that would allow you to, bump yourself up and flow into Orser. You're not listening to spirit. You're not listening to the omniscience. Maybe you're feeling disempowered. Maybe spirit is trying to help you, but you're blocking it, right? You're not letting the power of the universe support you. So those are things that could feel like disunity, lack of unity. Um, it's like the reverse of everything that I said. Those are the kinds of things that are possible when or say negative. It's just kind of like, baby, you down in the dirt with Set. Set got you all torn up and you reacting to everything. It made me think about like, okay, when I get negative or Set, what am I doing? Baby, I am triggered. That's another good one. I am triggered AF. Okay. And then I'll think, okay, or Sarah, what am I supposed to do? Let me take some deep breaths, go into my body. And, how close can I get to feeling peaceful? And let me just listen. Let me get quiet and tune in to spirit. What does spirit want me to do? Okay. Whew, I'm going to stop there. I always feel like I talk so much. Thank you so much for being here today. If you have enjoyed this video, I ask that you give the video a like. I would love to hear your questions, your comments. And yeah, I hope that this is helpful to learn more. I feel uh, e- African spirituality doesn't get the credit it deserves. And so that's another part of my mission is sharing African spirituality. Everybody studies African spirituality. And I, as an African American, feel it's so important for me to teach other Afro people in particular about what I know to give you options. Our people, even though Egyptians weren't brought here, via the slave trade, but they're African, and our we come from a people. A lot of us who are here in the United States, maybe in the diaspora elsewhere, our ancestors were brought here, and they don't remember. We there's so much of our culture that is missing, and so that's part of what I want to bring here to you all. Just to share what I know in hopes that it will support you in your journey. All righty. Well, thank you all so, so much for being here. And yeah, see you in my next video. Peace and love.